Hello everybody and welcome to a quick tutorial on Ventrilo. So I'm making this tutorial because a lot of people have to deal with the whole aspect in Vent of, you have that really quiet person, so you turn up your volume just to get your ears blown off by that super loud person. So I'll quickly start off with one rule of Vent, which is please use a headset. If you have other people's voices coming through your speakers and then you hit your push to talk button, it just creates this awful echo sound that nobody likes, and you'll quickly lose friends if you don't use headphones. So just use a pair of headphones if you can. So as for setting up your volume so that you don't get your ears blown off but yet you can hear the quiet people, we're going to use something called compression. So I'm assuming that you know how to set up your username and your server and all that stuff and you're ready to go. So what you do is you want to click on the settings button there, and then you're going to get this pop-up of setup right there. So what you want to do to set up your compressor is you want to make sure that this use direct sound button is pressed. So if it's not pressed, make sure it's checked off right there. And then hit the SFX button. You'll get this pop-up that's special effects, setup voice right there. So don't touch any of that stuff, you want it on sound effects there. And then hit compressor. Press add, and you'll get this compressor pop-up. So I'll just quickly go over what these things mean instead of just telling you what to push, because then you can set it up however you like it yourself. So essentially a compressor is a little bit more fancy than a limiter. So I'll start with what is a limiter. A limiter is something that once sound goes over a certain threshold, the louder it gets, as it gets inputted, it won't get any louder when it comes out of your headphones. So the limiter will just say, oh, that's it, you've reached the top of your limit, you're not going to get any louder. So it just makes the sound stay put at its loudest threshold that you set. Gain will make the overall sound louder or quieter. So if you go into the pluses, you're getting louder. If you go to the minuses, you're getting quieter. Attack is how quickly it'll turn on whenever a sound is coming. So you want to keep this to the absolute minimum that you can. And the release, you want to keep this not immediate, but not too long. This is how long the effect will last even after the sound has stopped. So I like these just at the default values. The threshold is at what point is the volume starting to get too loud. This is the part where it's going to be totally up to you. I personally like to set it somewhere around there. That's just my preference. So you can try it there, and if people are still getting too loud, you can mess around with this a little bit more. If you set it too quiet, the compressor will kick in with the quiet people and they'll be even more difficult to hear. So I'd set it roughly around there to start. The ratio is exactly how much will this kick in. So if you set it to 100, that's going to be a limiter. So once you reach this threshold, volume will never ever increase past that threshold. If you set it here, what it will do is the volume has to increase exponentially for there to be any detectable change in volume that you hear. So because people change their volume when they talk and they do, they get excited or, they shout or whatever it is, I personally like to have some dynamic range when I'm listening to people talk, so I don't like to set it to 100. I like to, have a little bit of variability in people's volume. So I set it roughly there. So, the trick is if you're going to set it to your limit, you want to set your threshold a little bit higher. If you want it to be a compressor, you want to set your threshold a little bit lower so that even if people get super loud, they're not going to blow your ears off. So that's roughly where I like it. I change it around. It depends what how many people are talking and this and that. So hopefully that explained it a little bit and it wasn't too complicated. So if you want a limiter, set your ratio to 100, set your threshold a little bit higher. If you want a compressor, set your threshold a bit lower and set your ratio a little bit lower. You can play around with this and just get people to talk. You'll quickly see what I mean by this. If you set your threshold super low, then the people who are very quiet to begin with, you're not going to be able to hear them at all. Alright, so just when you're done, hit OK at the bottom, and you'll see the compressor there, so that's good. Hit OK, and then it'll take you back to that window, so hit OK, and then you should be good to go. You should be ready to connect and talk to people and not get your ears blown off. So remember, wear your headphones and set your compressor, and hopefully Vent will be a happy time for all.